Open your mind, your mind, your mind, your mind.
Let me see you fucking it. Where's he at?
Hours of power, hours of power, hours of power, hours of power.
And so a community is where you control your police, you control your commerce, you control your education, you control your house. We don't control none of that. We live in a hood. Huh? Well, what about the Negroes that get out? Oh, well, see, my cousin, they say he's a multi-millionaire, almost at $1 billion.
The Popular Thought Series.
3 PhDs, working on 2 more. Driving down the street in Chicago in his Rolls Royce, enjoying himself, and he hears these sirens and looks in the mirror and sees this cop car flashing lights. He squeezed the steering wheel, man. Heart beats fast. Because he knows the price of a Negro, what it could be. And then when that cop car passed him by, he said, thank God he wasn't after you in the first place, Paul. That Negro thing you can't get away from. It's universal. They wasn't coming after you. With all your millions, with your Rolls Royce, with your PhD, didn't help. That's the hood. Huh? Why do you think you never pick up the paper until you read over and over and see white families? You think it's thousands of black cops in America. Why don't you see white families crying as black cops shot my loved one 42 times in the back of the head? Why do you think black cops are that? Think they're more spiritual? Think they're better? No! They got enough sense to know that white folks ain't gonna tolerate it. And I will stop in our neighborhood when we decide we will not tolerate it. Now, if we was organized, which is hard to organize people who are just gonna run crazy and you don't know you're crazy. But if we were, with the money we have, and the many people who would come to our aid that don't know what it's like to be a Negro, and we said, look, we saying, if we don't get a federal law to deal with police brutality, that anytime a cop or anybody carry a gun, have to have a license just like you used to drive a car. And if you use it wrong, then you'll lose your license. And if it's upheld, you can never work again as a cop or a store guard or a private detective. How do you get Congress to protect you? Well, you take your economic power and you call on your friends, black, white, young and old, and say, this coming Christmas, if we don't have a federal law to outlaw police brutality by law, if we call them for a nationwide boycott of Christmas and it start on Thanksgiving, well, let me tell you what that means. 79% of all retail in America happens between Thanksgiving and Christmas. People stay in business all year, lose money just for Christmas, huh? Well, what happens now? Sack Fifth Avenue, Toys R Us, Sears and Roebuck, Weston House. They will get the bill, and all they got to do is make one phone call and say, Harry, that's the senator, I want that bill pushed through in 3 days. Okay, it's an economic thing. It's that simple. But we have the power, but the system has wiped us out so bad.
Hours of power, hours of power, hours of power.
Happy. San Antonio, Lincoln 6. Go ahead. Clear suspect down, 10-4. 10-4. The officer's code 4. We have one suspect that's been shot.
Open your mind, your mind, your mind. And we are back. Peace, folks. Welcome back to another edition of the Popular Thought Series right here on the old T.P.O.T YouTube page. I'm your host, X, of course, but you knew that already. That's why y'all black asses are here. Tonight, special guest tonight, Brother Christian Hutchinson is here. And we're going to talk about millions being made. I think y'all will find this brother very interesting. You may remember him from being on Bernard Riley's The Grown Man Hour. I think this brother has a lot of interesting things to say. So I'm actually looking forward to speaking with this brother tonight. But y'all know before we get started, I always start the show off with thanking you good folks, man, for your likes, your shares, your views, your support, your subs, and of course, your hard-earned pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, and 50-cent pieces. Because I realize you don't have to do it, man. You don't have to show up to these damn streams, man. You don't have to watch these videos. You don't have to like them, share them. And you definitely don't have to drop your hard-earned coins on this platform. But you good folks choose to do so, man. Night after night, week after week, you are here. When you can be anywhere, you are here. And I don't take you good folks lightly, man. I never have and I never will. You got my word on that. I'm humbled. I'm honored. I'm appreciative, man. And most importantly, I'm thankful for you good folks. And that goes for all the good folks who hang out there and good folks who hang out in here. All right. All right. So let's get at it. I see brother Christian is here. So let me bring him up. Brother Christian,
Hey, how you doing today, Mr. Xavier?
what's good with it, man? I'm glad you are here. Uh, if you don't mind, before we even get started, why don't you go ahead and tell the folks who you are?
Yeah, so be more than happy to introduce myself. But one real quick aside, you picked a heck of a time to do this. Game one, the NBA Finals. It's okay though. I got the game in the background, so we're good.
Okay. Okay.
No, but no. It's always good to talk about whatever is going on, what we have to deal with. So, of course, my name is Christian Hutchinson. I'm out of the Detroit, Michigan area. Um, I'm 38. Haven't been married about coming up on 10 years this fall. Have two children with my wife. They're in early elementary school. I I work in IT, specifically with software development, implementations, project management, change management, that sort of situation. I was in the military for 6.5 years as a part timer. I was in the Air National Guard, so that's the component of the United States Air Force. Graduated from college about 2008, so I've been working basically since then. And yeah, so that's pretty much. And then of course, why everyone's here. How did I get here? Why did people find me interesting? I made money, and people want to know how, probably, or how did we go about the process?
All right. Um, I know when I saw you on Brother Bernard, shout out to Brother Bernard. I mean, that's my dude right there. He said that you have a net worth of $3 million,
Give
but
or take.
you you say you still work a regular job,
Yeah. Yep.
right?
Yep.
So explain to the folks how that works exactly. How is a millionaire still working a regular job?
Well, because what you have in net worth. So most people, when they think of this, they think of liquid, or you think of like Scrooge McDuck or like Scarface having, this pile of cash somewhere. Most people, when you have net worths, like you talk like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or anything like that, what typically happens is your money is tied up in things that are convertible to cash, real estate, stocks, bonds, precious artwork, business, patents, things like that. So typically, most people, especially until you get to about uh, 10 to $20 million of net worth, most of their money is going to be tied up in things such as real estate and securities. That's going to be your 401k, IRA, maybe stocks you hold, things like that. When you get into higher levels, people might have. I'm not saying people at lower levels don't, but we start having things like intellectual property, patents, business valuations, things like that. You can at lower levels, but they may not be of major significance. So you might own a trucking company, you have 4 tractor trailers. They're valued at some value plus the value of the business because of your accounts and receivables. Blah 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 blah. So that's like how it works.
Hmm. So you obviously you weren't always a millionaire.
No.
Um, so talk a little bit about the process. Like, I mean, did you just wake up one day and you say, you know what? I want to be a millionaire. I want to be rich. I mean, explain the process. How did you go through the steps? And I have I have something that I pulled up
Yeah.
from Entrepreneur Magazine, and it's 10 steps to how to become rich. And I'm going to ask you some questions later to see if you agree with some of this stuff. But go
Yeah.
ahead and go through the steps.
Well, so the first thing I did was I always made sure of I always worked. I've had a job since I was 14 years old. I've always worked. I always saved my money, and then I've always well, I started a lemonade. I had a lemonade stand between second and third grade one time one summer, and so I guess that was probably my first four way into business. Basically, my dad used to give us a $5 allowance every week when I was growing up, and so I saw this TV show. It was a show on Nickelodeon called Wild and Crazy Kids. And what happened was they showed like some people having a lemonade stand, and so I saw that. I was like, oh, I can have a lemonade stand. So uh, I saved the $5 my dad gave me one week, and then $5 he gave me another week, and so I had $7. So I went and bought some some powder country time lemonade from the grocery store when I was with my mom one day, and so I just and then we had some big jugs of water, like you see at like the church picnic, the big water jugs. Had that. We had a table in the basement, and we had some poster board, and I just started making lemonade. So I flipped that like $7 initial investment. I started like right after school got out, like June 7th or 8th, and by the time we went back to school in mid to late September, because Detroit had a teacher strike, so we worked a little later into the year. I flipped that. Me and my brother split like $3,800.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, we got more sophisticated as we went. Like, so you've heard of like you've heard of free the there's a chip company here in Detroit, not Frito
Frito
Lay,
Lay.
no, not Frito Lay, Better Made, potato chips. So they're here, and so what used to happen was they have a factory store. And you could buy the chips wholesale. So what would happen is we would buy the chips wholesale. You could buy like 30 chips, 30 bags of chips. This was back in the early 90s. So this is like 92 probably. You could buy 30 bags of chips for like it was something like $4 or something like that. And so then I
Mm.
would sell every bag of chips for 50 cents. So
So
it,
you were always kind of like an entrepreneur, even when you were a kid, right? So this
yeah,
isn't
yeah,
new,
yeah, I
right?
mean, yeah, but yeah, I never really thought about it like that. I just wanted to make money. I just wanted to make some money. So, because what would happen is my parents wouldn't necessarily, they would obviously provide for us, but if we wanted, so like for instance, it was things like what my parents would do is we could get a new pair of tennis shoes every 3 or 4 months, but we could only spend $40. So if I wanted a nice, so we would get name brand shoes, but if I wanted like a $70 pair of flights, I had to come up with that $70. So that was always a motivating factor for me to figure out ways to make money.
Hmm.
So, but I
So
always saved it. But I always was into saving my money.
yeah, that's a big part of it. Something that we kind of lack, when it comes to this kind of stuff. But shout out to Lady Sunkiss. What's good, Lady Sunkiss? I appreciate that $5 super chat. When you drop coins on this platform, you get this. I appreciate you dropping your hard-earned coins on this platform. Appreciate that, Lady Sunkiss, that $5 super chat. So I want to pull this up. I'm going to pull this up here,
Yeah.
and I want to
So
see if you agree.
but you said how did it happen? It just happened from I knew I was going to go to college. I knew I was going to work, and it was just I knew that once I had a couple of coins rubbed or a couple of nickels rubbed together, that I was going to do something, and I didn't know what it was going to do. Well, I didn't know what it was going to be, but I found something.
Well, what I have up on the screen here, if you can see it,
Yep.
it says 10 steps everyone must take to get rich. Now it says these moves will be your foundation of establishing positive financial habits that will move you closer toward your goal. The millennial generation is at a point now that they're starting to think hard about how to build long-term wealth for themselves. And there's a picture of a man there with an empty wallet. So I'm gonna get on down to number one. Never operate at a loss. Do you agree?
Yes, that's a good rule of thumb. I mean, not all these are ever 100%, but yes, that is a very good that is a very good way to go about. You never want to operate at a loss. I could give you a scenario where it makes sense. I'm actually have engaged in those sort of things before, but that's yes, never operate at a loss. It should
Mm,
don't try to operate at a loss. There's a reason why you would, but typically no.
okay. I'm
So
not
the
gonna
so
bore
so to give
everybody with the details. I'm just gonna go down through them. Go ahead, you got it, brother
So
Christian.
so like the way so an example of operating at a loss would be, let's say you were to buy a piece of real estate right now in like a high growth market like a Atlanta, a Raleigh, a Miami, Houston, or you say historically like San Francisco, even though they're kind of down right now. You can make an argument that if you put $100,000 out on like a piece of property, and yes say the service the debt was you know, $700 a month, but all you collected was $600 a month in rent. But if valuations of that real estate goes up by 20x every year or 10x every year, and you sell it in 5 years, right? Who cares about the $100 a month? That's what I mean.
Hmm. Number two, place a tax on yourself. Do you agree with that?
Let's see. Yes, that is very true. As soon as you get your money, you put it away. That is very key. Yes.
Okay. Number three, it says open an IRA account to accumulate interest tax free. Do you agree with that one?
Yes. Any sort of account you can put something into avoid taxes and earn returns with untaxed or borrow against it untaxed is a great move.
Okay. Number four, don't play the stock market. Do you agree with that one?
Uh, I would say yes. Don't play the stock market, but you should be invested in the stock market. I think that is 100% correct.
Okay.
Investing
Okay.
in the stock market meaning like I follow the Jack Bogle theme where you invest in a U.S. index, which is basically the S&P 500, an international index, which is broader, the broader international economy of major companies, and then you invest in the bond market, in a bond market fund. That's called the Bogle Triple. That's basic investing.
Okay. Because I
Yep.
own I don't own a lot of stock, but I own some. Um, some I've owned for many, many years. I'm planning on leaving it to my grandchildren. I haven't, I haven't. I sold some a while back, to kind of play with the whole Bitcoin thing. I'm not too thrilled with the Bitcoin stuff. I'm probably gonna just get rid of all. Yeah, I mean, I sold a little bit of stock just to kind of play with the Bitcoin, but I'm not really impressed with the Bitcoin, and I've lost a few dollars with this Bitcoin crap. So
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. So when I hear people say play, see they even say in there down if you go back up to the top, scroll back up to the number four, you see what it
Hmm.
says. It says invest a portion of your portfolio you're willing to lose in companies you like or hold for many years. Make decision, financial advisor, purchase your long-term options. You know, so the main thing is, I think when they're saying don't play in the stock market, you hear about all this stuff like day trading, option trading, things like that. You know, do people? I
Yeah.
I know people who make money doing that in a lot of ways. your better chance is just to buy a stock, regular index fund, a SPY or VOO, and let the market do the rest. So you're trying to pick stocks.
Yeah. Number 5, build a side hustle. Do you agree with that one?
That's the only way you're typically going to get there outside of business ownership or inheritance. Yes. This is the
Okay.
big for me. This is a big this is what did it for me.
Okay. Number 6, always pay off your credit cards.
So yes, ideally you should. I'm guilty of not doing it because I had to use my credit cards to finance my initial business operations because I could not get business credit, so I had to use my credit cards, and I was, you know, that's how I did it. But yes, not using your credit cards is a good idea, but when you use your credit cards, you get bigger credit lines. So if I hadn't used my credit cards, I would not have had the credit lines I needed to do the investments I did. So you got to use your credit wisely, but paying them off so you don't lose your money in interest, especially at 15, 18, 20, 25%, is very good. This is all very sound advice.
Yeah, that's what I tell my wife, God damn it, pay them damn credit. Because, see, I'm not a credit card person. I have like 2 credit cards. That's it. And one of them I only use for my business. I mean, I don't use it for anything else. I use it to order inventory and parts if I need it. And the other one, I kind of use that one, but I don't use it a lot.
Yeah.
Um, because I know that, you get yourself caught up with them credit cards, man. You get addicted to using them, because we have a tendency to think that credit cards is free money, but really it's not. Really it's not.
No, it's not.
Really it's not. All right. Number 7, set financial goals at the start of each quarter and year.
That's very disciplined. I can say I don't do the quarterly planning. I do a year. I typically do a year in 3 years. Um, but yeah, that would make sense to do a quarter. Uh, I well, that might be extreme, but okay. But again, these are all very sound, basic advice. You can't go wrong doing so. Yes.
Okay. Number 8, follow the 50-30-20 rule.
I can't see it. Uh, 50, 30, 20, 50% income, and you say, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a very good rule to follow. Yes, great. That's a great idea.
All right. Number 9, surround yourself with financially responsible people.
Oh yeah, that's a very big part. You don't whether it's your spouse or the friends you hang around, the people you're around can influence your spending decisions, and you know, yeah, that's if you have people in your circle or people you're dealing with all the time that they're always spending their money uh, like there's no tomorrow, you're gonna eventually probably do the same thing.
Yeah. I agree with that one because if you surround yourself with broke ass people, I mean, you're probably going to be one of them at some point.
Yeah.
Um yeah, and not only that, you can learn from people who are financially successful. You can learn from these people. You can learn, you can watch their habits, you can see how they operate their business, how they operate their finances. I mean, you can learn something from them. You're not going to learn from people who don't have any money. How are you going to have money if you hang around with people that don't have any?
Well, you can actually learn from people who are financially irresponsible because you can learn what not to do.
Oh yeah.
I,
There is that.
no, no, I like, I look at it as something I can learn from everybody. So, you just you sit back and watch. You just kind of take in what people are doing so you can understand how this might apply to your life. So, yes, but in general, you want to be around people who are engaging in positive behavior, whether it's financially or otherwise. If people are engaged in negative behavior, big behavior that could potentially put you in a bad situation, whether it's, it could be anything. That's a big part of accumulating wealth, is avoiding the pitfalls of what takes people down, which are lots of times not necessarily financial related, but they always have a financial consequence.
Yeah, yeah, I'd have to agree, man. Because how's that saying go? Uh, the five people around you, the average. God, I forgot how it goes,
Yeah, the
but
yeah
it's
the
something.
yeah the
Go
five
ahead.
people around you is that's the average of who you are, or that's the representation of who you are.
Yeah, because if you got five broke people around you all the time, you're going to be broke person number six, I would imagine. I mean, it's just it's pretty much common sense, right? I mean, I know you can watch, like you said, you can watch people who are financially irresponsible and know what not to do. But I think you only watch them for a short time. You don't actually want these people around all the time, because if you're financially responsible, the financially irresponsible people, it's just a matter of time before they're trying to, you know, chip at your financial responsibility.
Correct.
Um, and that goes for family too, because I got people in my family that I don't even, because I know they are just bad news, as far as my finances go, and as far as how I build my life goes. And I'm related to these people, and I don't, I love them from a distance, you know.
Correct.
I love them from a distance because of past experiences with them, and past experiences with seeing how they do things and the effect they have on people, mainly me. So, you might have to. Well, let me ask you this: is it necessary to cut people off, especially family members, maybe long term friends, when it comes to, planning, your finances? Is it always necessary to just start cutting people off?
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, you have to, as you get to certain stages or certain points in life, you have to remove certain people from your orbit, or you have to distance yourself. Like I have people that I was very close to growing up, but it's at this point I might see them once, maybe twice a year. It is not nothing personal. It's just that what they have going on in their lives is not conducive to what's going on in mine, and I can't risk what I'm doing uh, to be involved with them, and also because I have people who depend on me. And I can't, and it's not, and they don't take it personally. No, we never fell out. We're not on bad terms. It's just that we're in two different places in life, and that's okay.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And number 10, judge yourself over the year, not the month. Do you agree with that one?
Uh, I like to keep tally where I'm at month to month. That's just me. So that way, uh, but what's the reasoning behind it? Well, as far as more, yeah, okay, I see where they're going with that. Uh, yes, but at the end of the year, I do look at how I overall did. I do look at the scoreboard, but I like to watch how I did month to month. That's because that's letting me know, do I need to tighten up, or where I'm at compared to last year, or projections for what's going to happen the next 3 to 6 months, things like that.
Yeah, because that's all part of your planning, right? To, kind of evaluate, where you are as far as your finances are, right? And, you know, you look at yourself over the course of a year. I know I always look at my finances, I look at where I was, a year ago, 6 months ago,
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
because doesn't that prepare you? I mean, because you want to be doing better a year from now than you're doing now, and hopefully you're doing better now than you were doing a year ago, right?
Yes. And like for instance, I'll give you a perfect example. Typically, at the end of the year, around Christmas time, we go on a family vacation. Well, I kind of book what we're going to do for that, because usually, we'll go out of town between 4 and 10 days. So basically, I'm going to know by about end of September what how we're looking. And if we had a really good year, it's the vacation's going to be one way. If it was just kind of like the vacation's going to be another way. So that's just kind of how it goes. So uh, that's just how it works.
So, like I said earlier, because you still work a job, right?
Yep.
So, what would you tell a person who says, "Well, brother Christian, your net worth is up there in the millions, and you're still working a job. I work a job. I mean, how do I even start, to try to do this?" What would you tell them?
Well, first thing I would say is, do you make enough money to get yourself? Me, I actually had a good buddy of mine who has an HVAC company. He has like 3 trucks. Uh, we were talking about this actually, funny enough, last week, and we said, so basically, what you have to do is you have to get yourself in a position in this. If you're in the United States, I'm assuming everyone here is in the U.S. If you need to get in a position where you can get your hand on $20,000 to get in the game. You really need 50, but if you get to 20, you can start doing things to get yourself in the game to start accumulating wealth. Until you get $20,000, people, yeah, everything else, you're going to spend a lot of time and energy. It's going to be very difficult. I'm not saying that you can't do it, but that's how you get caught up in all these get rich quick scheme, or you're going to flip this and flip that. Most likely, what you are going to need to do is you're going to have to trade your labor for dollars, okay? Uh, to get to that first 20 grand. Now, of course, if you're a creative or something like that, of course you can always somehow monetize an idea, but that takes years typically. You just can't come up with something and then get that sort of money. Most likely you have to do something through saving, and lots of times getting that sort of money in your hand is going to take a couple of years. It's probably going to take you 3 years. If you're married, you might be able to get there faster, depending on your living, your monthly overhead. And but you got to get your you got to get a hold of about 20 grand to get in the game, or whatever you're going to do. That's whether you're going to buy real estate, you're going to get a franchise, you're going to start a business, whatever. And we're just talking about the low hanging fruit sort of stuff. We're not talking about the big stuff. I'm just saying, just to get in the game, to open up a real revenue stream.
Mm. So, what do you believe is the most sound way, quote unquote, get rich? Because I know there's no one way to like get rich, besides like hitting the lottery or something like that. But what's the what do you think is the most sound way to get rich? Is it starting a business or getting involved in real estate?
I think the most sound way that most people are going to get to a mid 6 figure or 7 figure net worth is you're going to get a job, a well-paying job. You're going to buy a home, and then you're going to save in your 401k and IRA. That's how the majority of millionaires are made. They're going to talk about all this stuff about this and about that. The majority of people who who enter into high net worth, which is, I believe, $500,000 or higher, right? That's that's how they typically are going to do it.
Mhm. Because I know, because I have a small business that I've been running for like 8 years. The first 2.5 years was hell. All right. I operated pretty much in the red for the most part. Um, Moved the business started doing better. It's pretty self-sustaining now. It sustains itself and it sustains me, my family, and everything else, our house, our cars, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm still working. It's not like, I tell people this all the time, and I tell my family members, they think because I run this business that, I'm just sitting in an office somewhere with my feet on the desk and money's just running in the door. No, I'm still getting up 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm still pulling 10, 12-hour days. I mean,
Correct.
yeah, I mean, I'm still doing that. I mean, I don't have to work as hard as I did 6 years ago, but I'm still working. Now, I'm not necessarily well, I'm not going to say that. It would be nice to get rich, but that's not really my focus to, like, be rich. I mean, we do okay. All right. We're not hunting our own food. We're not living in a tent. None of that. But far as being rich, that's not really the goal. Uh the goal is to have it so I don't have to be there
Correct.
as much. That's the goal. Not necessarily rich, but to the point where maybe I can, sit in the office and watch money run in. We're not there yet, though. We're not there. We've had a good, the last 2, 3 years have been pretty good. They've been decent, but not so much decent where, I can just sit back and do nothing. So let
Correct.
me ask you this: when it comes to having your own business, do you think that a person should continue to just work that business while it grows and maybe stop when they're quote unquote rich? Or do you work that business as it grows and just continue to work it even though you're rich?
Well, I guess it all comes down to opportunity cost, right? Like, is there something else you could be doing with your time that's more valuable or that you deem more valuable at that time? So, full disclosure, I don't necessarily operate a business. I have real estate investments, and I know I've
Mhm.
had like car services. So, in terms of a brick and mortar business that people think of like with a storefront or a warehouse or a widget factory or a service provider like like a dog walking business or a restaurant. I have not done that, but in general, with my in my case, I'm a property. Basically, I'm a landlord. That's how I've made my money. The question is there something I can do that's more valuable with my time, other than managing my rental properties, right? Uh, at this point, no, right? Whether it's between my 9 to 5 job or maybe other opportunities. Uh, you know, there's not something more valuable I can do with my time at this point. So I would say, as long as the opportunity cost of working is not is not higher than doing another activity, then yes, I would say you keep on going. Unless, of course, you're at the point where on autopilot and you can just sit back and collect the money, and you want to relax because you put in your time. That's a different story.
Mm. Because even if you are quote unquote rich, you have to maintain your money, right? I mean, because you own properties, right? Do
Correct.
you do you do you manage them yourself, or do you have a property manager? Do you have a you do all
Yeah.
of that yourself
Yeah,
still?
I self-manage. In fact, I had a situation. I have something that happened just this week. I had a corporate client. I thought that they were going to be here an extra another 30 days. It turned out they left on the 31st of May. They were like, "Yeah, we're out of here." They left 30 days early, and so now what happened is I was like, "Well, I got to fill the unit." So I was like, "Oh, well, I'll take a couple weeks and fill it." Same day they move out, I get a call from an insurance company, and they say, we need this unit now. This is just a cold call. They called me out the blue, and they said, how much do you want? That I need. They said we need this for 3 months. They just told me name my price, and they're going to cut me the check. So I had to stop everything I'm doing the last 3 nights. Me and my wife, and we've been over there getting the rental unit ready. Right, I've been calling, getting my contractors because there was a couple chips of paint. We're working on that, and the kids, they're doing homework at the table or at the couch right there in the rental property. That's what we have to do at this point, right? And the tenants are going to be moving in tomorrow at noon. So, but it was worth it in that point, right? So that's what happens when you self-manage. If it was a property manager, it would be them to do it. But would a property manager be willing to respond to that sort of let's put it like this? I have a very high incentive to turn this property because of the amount of money they're giving me. A property manager, all they're going to get is between 5 and 12% of the gross rent. They have a very low incentive to make this thing go. So to turn a property in 2 days, 3 days, they're not going to do that. I will though, because it's my property, and I'm going to, of course, reap all the rewards of doing so.
We got a question for you in the
Sure.
Are you willing to answer some questions from some folks or no?
Yeah. I can answer questions. I also saw a couple of people's responses, and we can go back and forth with the audience. And I know Freeman's in there. He said about the you can be broke and get a house. And I know that, yes, there's programs out there like that, and of course we can get into that.
Where the hell can you get a house if
Well,
you
so
broke?
well, there is, and Freeman can attest to this though. So yes, can you get a home? Yes, you can for your primary residence. You could maybe do some finagling and some gray playing in the gray sort of things to maybe even pull it off on an investment property. But typically, the types of homes you can get in that case are not normally investment grade, or they might there's other challenges that's in place, and then you're going to have to pay premiums around not having appropriate debt positions. There's other trade-offs. Like, so yes, you can get a house for zero down with down payment assistance and things like that, but now what happens is you have to pay a higher interest rate. You then have to pay interest on the down payment assistance. There's all sorts of other things that come into play. And I think there's pros and cons, but in general, if we were just talking like high level of someone saying how to get started, I'm going to say you need to get 20 grand in the bank. You get 20 grand in the bank, you can do something. In some cases, you can probably get 10 grand in the bank but $100,000, $10,000, $100,000 for a property, you could probably pull something off at that case. But in general, that's why I would just say 20,000. We're talking very, very generic. What I mean. Like, there's always exceptions to the rule. You know what I mean?
And if you I know that there's some programs out there, for people, with no money down and all that kind of stuff. But number one, your credit has to be up to snuff, right? You can't have like a freaking 500 credit score and take advantage of those programs, can you?
I think I've heard the lowest stuff I've ever heard is 580. Again, I'm not a mortgage broker, and there's all sorts of special programs. There's all sorts of things out there, but the general rule is 640. You need to have a 640 credit score, and you need to have probably 3.5% down to buy your primary residence. And for your first time home buyer, there's other things, but that's just like the general rule. Like, that's like the low barrier of entry to get in the game, in terms of locking. And the point of that is to lock in your housing costs, right? Because you never, because that's the whole point of buying a home, is locking in your housing costs. Yes, I'm biased because I have real estate, so I say that's the best way to do it. But just like I said on Bernard's show, if you were if in 2010 your rent was $1,000, right? If you've left yourself exposed to housing costs in the rental market, that property is probably that same unit is probably running you $1,800 to $2,200 at this point.
Mm.
And if has your income kept up with that in 12 years? Has your income kept up with that? That's the point. That's the part. That's the tough part.
Well, Brother Friedman says, do you rent the property for long term or VRBO?
Uh, historically I've always been the long-term rental stuff. Since I switched over to the corporate things, that has been shorter term in nature, because of corporate rentals. They don't need to. Sometimes they need it for a year, but lots of times they need it for 3 to 6 months. But they're paying a premium. But they're paying a premium to get that 3 to 6 months. I've been doing some travel nurses because I have a couple of rental properties near some major medical facilities here in Metro Detroit. So what happened was I could get a premium on rent for that because they were in walking distance to a major hospital here in Metro Detroit. They if I was only gonna maybe only get 1,800, like 15 or 1,800 dollars a month in a long term rental, but for a travel nurse, because there's two nurses or three nurses, they might give me $3,000 a month for 3 months or something like that.
Well, Brother Friedman says the minimum credit score is low. You just can't, I guess you just can't have bankruptcy or evictions.
I don't doubt that if he's in housing stuff with like doing all sorts of housing programs, if he works for does those sort of things, like I said, there are hundreds of programs out there, right? But that typically is, if there's we have stuff that like that here. I'm saying walking into the bank, calling up a mortgage broker and getting something done. I'm just talking from those generalities. When you start talking about what stuff he's talking about, you're going to housing coalitions, nonprofits, you're getting the state government involved. There starts being multiple players involved in the transaction.
hmm. Well, let me ask Brother Friedman this. If this is out there for people, because that's not how we obtained our property that we have, because we own a property up north. It's been in the family for a while. I mean, shit, we put down in the beginning, I think we put shit, that was years ago, I think we put down like 15 grand. So I don't know this whole zero money deal where you just have no money and you get the house. And so if that's the case, all right, if that's the case where you can get this, and you can get it says here, Brother Friedman says, just a guess of how low it was. It used to be 580 and it's around 640. Like Christian said, okay, this person could get this with a 640 credit score. If that's the case, how come more people don't own property?
Because of the down payment is the big barrier. So let's talk about this. So what part of the country you're in? Just wondering. I'm not aware, Mr.
I'm in North
Xavier.
Carolina.
So
North
you're in North.
Carolina.
All right. So let's just say, let's just work on just this work from. Let me get my calculator out. Let's say on a $200,000 home, right? Calculator on my computer. Okay. So a $200,000 home, if you have 10% down, right? 10% down on $200,000 is $20,000, right? I mean, 20% down on $200,000 $40,000. 10% down is 20. 5% down is 10, right?
Mhm.
So what? So let's break that down. Let's say to get the $20,000, right? You're only going to put down 10%, right? Let's just go with that number, right? To get a $20,000 down payment. And remember, you still have closing costs and things of that nature. There's 12 months in a year, right? To get $20,000 in a year, that means you have to save $1,666. So let's just call it $1,675, right? To get a $20,000 in a year, right? So most likely you're going to get this over the course of 3 years. So let's say you have $20,000 over 3 years. Oh, that's 36 months because you're going to just doing 10% down on a $200,000 house, right? So that's
Mhm.
36 months. That's $555. So we'll just call it $550 a month. That means you need to save cash $550 a month every month. And you have to do that for 3 years. And like you and me know, you're in North Carolina, I'm in Metro Detroit, right? even before housing costs shot up in the last 3 to 4 years, a $200,000 house wasn't all that nothing to get excited about, right? I mean, it's. I'm not saying it's in a bad neighborhood, but it ain't in a. It's not in um, the most exclusive neighborhood too. That just gets you the run of the mill. Just that gets you like the above average. That just gets you what above average or above average home in a above average neighborhood or above average suburb. So
Yeah.
I
Like a
mean,
working class neighborhood, nothing
but
extravagant.
I mean, you're saying your tenant your neighbors are going to be people. They might work. The someone might be a teacher in the household, and the other person then is a mechanic. So these people are not they're not poor, not remotely,
Yeah.
but
But they're
but
not
they're
stockbrokers.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
They're not
yeah,
stockbrokers.
and also too, you're not going. These people, the difference is they vacation. So you're in North Carolina. They vacation. They go to the Outer Banks for 4 days. Their summer vacation is they go to or their vacation for the year they go to the Outer Banks for 4 years and they stay in a Holiday Inn and that's about it, right? That's what their vacation is. And then
Mm.
maybe every 3 to 4 years they might fly to LA or New York or they go to Disney World, and that's a big deal, right? And nothing's wrong with that. But most people, what they're thinking about is they want to, they have in their head that they're going to fly to they're going to fly to New York City and stay in the Waldorf Astoria for 5 days. You know what I mean? And that's just you're not doing that on that sort of income, right? So that's a different story. So either way, when you start talking about what it takes to get a home, you have to have that down payment, and just to even save up 10% on a for a $200,000 house, you have to save $550 a month for 36 months, right?
Mm.
And what they say, what is it like that? Like 40% of Americans can't afford a $500 emergency, meaning they don't have the cash or the credit. So that means that so that's the barrier. That's the barrier of entry. Now, of course, you have the 3.5% down for the FHA, but again, uh, you have to pay a higher price. And again, what's the quality of home you're going to be able to get when you get that? I bought a home FHA before, but I think that again, people uh, have to level their expectations of what life is, and also too, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So the home you might buy today, the home that me and my wife bought our first home in 2009 is nothing like the home we bought last year, and we've been renovating for 7 months now. Um, so it's a it's just a different thing, right? It's so people have to understand what their expectations are.
Yeah, I mean, because we just got approved, and we're planning on buying another house soon. Um, but see, I've been working on my credit for like 8 years. I worked on my credit for like 8 years. When I started my business, I didn't start my business with any loans or anything. I started it from the ground because my credit was crap.
Yeah.
Like 9 years ago, boy, my credit was straight crap. But I've been working on it. So we were able to make some moves. We were able to make some moves, and things look a little better. So and like where we live now, I mean, this neighborhood, it's okay, but it's not really where I want to be. The house we live in now, we're leasing with the option. All right. We don't even own
Yes.
this house. We're leasing with the option because I, I mean, we were thinking about it, but this isn't what I need because the family has grown a bit. I have my grandson and my nephew. So, I need more space. So I wouldn't be able to keep this house anyway because I got, the other kids. So I need more space. So, we gotta buy something, bigger,
Yeah.
so
So one thing, and I talked about on the Bernard show, and whenever people talk about what was the big thing that got us rolling, because this is what the people in the chat that they're wanting. The thing that really got us rolling was we house hacked for about 8 years. So what is house hacking? We bought a multifamily home, right? And we lived in one unit and we rented out the other unit. And
Mm.
that's basically what set us up to make a whole bunch of other moves because essentially we were able to live without paying a mortgage for all that time. And that freed up money for us to invest.
Mm. Is that the way to go for most people, though?
I,
If they have the resources, the credit, the amount for the down payment. I mean, is that the way to go?
so believe it or not, I had a I worked as a security guard at this hotel back when I was in college, and I had been dating my wife for mm, about 6 7 months at this point. And there was like at the in the security department there was like 4 or 5 retired Detroit police officers, and they were telling me, they're like, oh, so they used to make fun of me about having a girlfriend and everything. So then they were like, hey, they said when you get married, they said what you do is that you go get a duplex, you stay in one unit and you rent out the other. So these old police officers, they were telling me, and I was like probably 22, 23 at this point. They're trying to put me on game, trying to say, this is how you do it. And so I really wasn't paying attention or listening, right? Because you're like, what are these guys talking about? But then we bought a home for very cheap during the Great Recession. But when we got married and we went to go buy our first home together as a married couple, when the opportunity presented itself, I remember what they said, and I remember I ran the numbers, and I said, dude, if I do this, this is gonna I didn't know if I was going to jump full into real estate like that, right? But I just said, you know what? If I just do this for 3 years, it's going to change my financial situation because because I was going to have to go get a mortgage and pay $1,400 a month anyway. So it's just like, what happens if I didn't have to pay that $1,400 a month for the next 3 years? How would that change my situation? And so that's what really started it. Now, the thing is, when you do that 3.5% down with FHA, see, they actually have different lending guidelines when you go into duplexes, triplexes, and quads. You can get a FHA loan with only 3.5% down up to 4 units in the whole anywhere in the United States. So pretty much anybody, even if you're in New York City or LA or San Francisco, you're talking if you have 3.5% down and it's a duplex, you can get it. And if you live in the unit, you're going to live in the place and then you're going to rent out the other unit. And they're either A, going to subsidize your mortgage, they're going to subsidize your equity position. And if you find a really good deal, you're going to cash flow. So let's go back to a $200,000 house. That mortgage payment, tax, insurance, all in, what's that, like 1450? Yes, say you go get a $240,000 house because it's a duplex, right? So instead, you were paying $200,000 for one door. Now, instead, what you did was you paid $120,000 for two doors, right? You live in the one unit, and yes, say now what you do is you rent that other unit out for $1,200. Well, now you're only spending $200 a month to pay your mortgage,
Mm.
right? What do you do? Remember, you're planning on spending $1,400. What do you do with the other $1,200? You just save it. You put it in the
Yeah.
bank, right? You can put it in the stock market. And then you do that for 2 or 3 years, and now you have some money. Maybe you decide I don't want to do this anymore. So then you can sell the home. You'll make a profit on the sale of the home, right? So you get a lump sum of cash. You can go buy another home. You can go start a business. I mean, just look at all the options you just opened up for yourself, right? Just because you did one thing. And but let's look at how long that's going to take. That's a 5 year play. That's a 5 6 year play, right? Because you got to save
Yeah.
the money, you got to get the property, and then you got to sell, and then you got to do it again.
Because I remember my dad when I was a kid. He bought a house, right? But he bought one of those fixer uppers, right?
Yep.
Bought one of those fixer uppers. And him and I, we went over there. We redid the garage. We did the floors. We did the walls. We did plumbing, and he bought it outright. I mean, and he literally bought it outright. And what he did was he built the value of the house up, right? And after it was all paid for and everything, he took out a loan against that property
Yep,
and bought another house,
that's
right?
correct. Yep,
And lived, and we moved to the other house,
yep,
and he rented that house out.
yep.
Now, me, I should have done that shit, but I didn't, of course. But I mean, I'm thinking about doing that. I mean, that's kind of where I want to go. Um,
So
that's
this
kind of where
isn't
I want to go.
so here here's a here I so again I'm always biased towards multifamilies. If you're in North Carolina, I would say do a search to see if there's a multifamily. I know you have, young kids in the house, so find something that's like a side by side. You say you get a side by side, meaning it's like townhome style where you go in one door and it's just semi detached.
Yeah,
They have their door next to you. You say it's a 3 bed, 2.5 bath side by side. The other unit's 3 bed, 2.5 bath. You guys live in the one unit, you rent out the other one because those kids they're going to grow up one day, right?
yeah,
And then what's going to happen is they can, you know, as they get older or they become adults, and you say you don't want them in the house directly with you, you can put them in the house next. You can put them in the unit next door. They can go to college locally, or there's all sorts of things you can start doing to manipulate the situation, because once you have an asset, right, all you have to do is make it perform, whether that's a house, a car, a horse, whatever it is. It's all about utilization of the asset, and the goal is for it to generate income. Is it an income generating asset? So that's how I would look at it. And don't be afraid to do so. I mean, I don't know your marital situation, but the tough thing is when you do it when you're married is a lot of women want, they want the 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 house with the yard and
oh
everything, and
yeah,
they know
oh
that's the
yeah,
big that's what they're looking for. And
oh
so
yeah,
that's the tough part about it. But that's why it's great. You got to do it when you're young, first out the gate, before because then it gives them something to look forward to. And you tell them this is the vision. If you do this, I promise on the next one, you're going to get what you want, right? And so that's what I kind of had to do. I had to let we kind of had to grind it out in this multifamily, because we had two units in here that we were renting out, but it's a large property. It's like 6,000 square feet. So
mm,
we had a 4,000 square foot unit that we lived in, and then we had 2,000 square foot units that we rented out. So we had plenty of space, and we had a yard and everything of our own, but it still was a you know my wife, she was going crazy sometimes, having you know just her walking in the gate and there's someone walking around in her yard, right? I mean, that can make people feel a certain way, and that can make her frustrated. Or they come in late at night and they slam the door, because they had their own private entrance. So their entrance into the building was uh was just outside of my kid's bedroom. My kid's bedroom was on like the second floor, but the door to come in the building is on the first floor. So people come in 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, being out at night, slam the door. My wife gets upset because why are they slamming the door? This and this and this. They're stumbling up the stairs, talking loud on the phone. You know how people are, right?
oh
So
yeah,
so you get upset about that, but it's just like in my head, it's like, hey, these people are paying us $2,000 a month in rent, right? So
yeah,
you got to
yeah,
kind of deal with it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, when you got your wife and you got the kids, and you know how women are. Women ain't necessarily trying to, acquiesce to other folks doing all this kind of stuff. It's that to deal with as well. Because eventually I'm going to go ahead and buy. I plan on within the next few years, to eventually retire from the business that I have, because I want to leave it to like my nephew or my grandson at some point. Um, and I want to actually get into the real estate game. I want to purchase a building and rent it out to old women because I know there's plenty of them out there. It's a surefire way, man. It's a winner, man. It is a winner. I keep telling brothers about it. I'm gonna buy this damn building and have these little 500 square feet apartments in it for old ladies, and I'll have on site laundromat and bingo, and have a little a bullshit security guard to guard it in the front, and we're
Yeah.
gonna be rich. I'm taking investors. I'm taking investors.
Well, so it's just as someone who's in that game, when you talk about it, it sounds good, but that sounds like a lot of hassle. I wouldn't want to deal with all that. That's a lot of hassle. Uh, but yeah, there is something to be said for what you're saying. There are people who get into doing that. Uh, Obviously, for that multifamily game, I'm not a for that large commercial game we were talking about. I think someone like an Orlando Miner would be a very good resource for that. My stuff is all 2 to 4 units, single family and 2 to 4 units. That's what I'm familiar with. I know that
Mhm.
I know that in and out. Everything we start talking about commercial buildings, large multifamilies over 6 units, things like that. I know something about it, but I have not dealt with it personally. So I'm not going to get into speaking on stuff I don't know about.
Mm. Yeah, I mean that's because I think that for the long term can be nice passive income for me. I don't have to do a whole lot of working. I just got to make sure I got a decent maintenance guy around there, maybe a
Yeah,
decent property manager, and it can kind of run itself. Now that's down the road. That's not tomorrow. I'm not looking to
yeah,
get that tomorrow. You
correct.
talking maybe 5, 6, 7 years down the road. I'm looking to get into that.
Yeah,
um,
yeah, no,
but right now it's
makes
just
sense.
about, getting another house. Because if I wanted to, I probably could take out a loan from the house that we have, up north, because that house is totally paid for. So, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to take anything against that house because that house has been in our family for a very long time, and I will absolutely positively not risk losing it at no juncture. um, that's why I've been
So,
working on my
s-
credit all these years.
so here's a question. And this is just when you say that, uh, what 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 do you estimate that property is worth?
Uh, the one up north, 300,000,
So,
320,000.
just think about this. All right, is it rented out now?
No, my son's living in it. My
Is
son's living in it.
and he's lived in there what, rent free or something like that?
Oh no, hell no,
Okay, okay, all
absolutely
right,
not.
all right. So I mean, just
Plus he
follow.
maintains it. So
So the way what I would do in that situation, I understand that you've had it in the family for years, but what I would do is I would go take a credit line out against that property for about $100,000. So that way you don't eat up all the equities. That way you're still protecting your equity position because you'll have just like a 33% loan to value ratio. So if something happens to the larger economy, you won't be exposed. You take that $100,000, then I would go buy a duplex, right? I would just go buy a duplex. The mortgage on $100,000 uh, HELOC, the payment on that is only going to be $600-700 a month anyway, right? You go get a duplex, right? You get $100,000 down on a duplex. That puts you in play for a $600,000-700,000 multifamily unit. You live in the one unit, you rent out the other. So the mortgage on a $600,000-700,000 house is only about $3,500, right? So
mhm.
if you rent out that house for $2,500, if you rent out the one unit for $2,500, all you do is you pay your 1,000, and then you're good.
Yeah, I mean, I've considered that. I've thought it over for a couple of years to go ahead and take. a loan against it. I haven't done it because, like I said, I just got approved for like a pretty good sized loan.
Yeah.
Um, I've never wanted to take anything out against that house because, like I said, that house has been in our family for a long time.
Yeah, I get it.
Um,
When you're free and clear, I get the thing of when you're free and clear, you're free and clear. You don't want to take the debt out. But the thing is, if if you could take the debt out because you're going to leverage it for more money, see that's some people are anti-debt, and I get that.
yeah,
To
I
me,
am.
yeah. So if you're anti-debt, it can make you not want to do it. But when you see a place where you can leverage, see if if you can leverage it. So let's put it like this: if you could take out that $100,000 and you could generate $40,000 to $50,000 a year off of that 100,000, right? I would say that's probably a pretty good. That's probably pretty good.
Well, let me give you a little bit of full disclosure here, brother Christian. The reason why I haven't done it is because I want to be able to do it to get my old women's building. If
Okay,
I don't
okay,
have,
yeah, okay, you want to keep that mark. You want to call it that marker when it's time for you to make
yes,
your plan.
because
Okay, all right,
I
yeah, okay,
really want, I got to be honest.
okay,
I
that makes
really
sense.
want
Okay,
I
okay,
want to hold it until I can do, the
yeah,
old women center
yeah,
apartment building. So
yeah,
I want to be able to pull on that if need be.
correct.
Okay, if all
Yeah,
else fails, I have that to fall back on in the next 6 years.
yeah.
That's why I haven't done it. To be honest with you, that's why I haven't done it.
Okay.
In
Yeah,
all
so
full
basically you
honesty here.
okay, all right, yeah. So you've already thought that through. So you're saying when it comes time for you to pull the trigger on what you really want to do on your idea, then that's when you'll do it. But you're not gonna tap that just that way you could go have a place to stay.
Yeah,
100%
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
100%
yeah.
understand that concept then.
Yes.
I would just look at it from that aspect of remember I'm saying, why get a single family home, just go get a duplex. I'm not saying go borrow money against that other property, that way you could go buy yourself a McMansion, right, for you and your family. I was saying for you to go buy potentially cash flowing real estate. That's what I
Mm.
was saying,
Yeah,
which that's
because
different
I'm
story.
I'm going to be honest with you. If I because we like I said, we're going to need a bigger place. It's just not enough room here, for everybody. Um and we'll give it a couple years, to see how things go. Depending on how things are going with the next house that we buy, depending on how things are going, I'll go ahead and pull the trigger on the house up north so I can get the building. But I want to see how things go first, because actually the plan is 6 years off for this building. It's
Yeah.
it's 6 or 7 years off. Brothers hear me talk about it, here and there, on like, look, man, we're gonna have these little apartments, for these old ladies, because it's not going to be any shortage of them. So, we have this building,
Yeah.
I this is what I want to do. But like I said, it's some years off, and I want to be able to go ahead and pull that money out of it for this building. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. If that's your game plan, then hey, then execute on your game plan. You said you have a small business. What, if I may ask, what type of business is it?
Well, I'm a mechanical engineer and I'm a power mechanic.
Okay,
We design, we build, we do maintenance on steam rooms, commercial generators, power equipment,
yeah,
bulldozers, skid steers, backhoes, commercial lawn equipment. We do outboard motors. We do motorcycles. Um, the engineering part is only probably about 30% of our business. The other 60-70% is mostly install, maintenance, and repair.
okay,
Um, so I mean, the business isn't going anywhere. I mean, we're actually doing pretty good, to be honest. I mean,
yeah,
we're doing okay. I can't even complain. Like, I can't even complain, not even a
yeah,
little bit. We're doing okay. So
yeah. Hey, yeah. Even if you've had a couple really good years, then then the next move is, like I say, you want to lock in your housing costs. That's just me. I say, you lock in your housing costs because now you're at a fixed amount. You don't have to worry about the fluctuations of the marketplace, and you know that you can afford that. And then the next thing you do is, again, you save your money, you invest it in the stock, into securities, stocks, bonds, and I just do simple index funds. I don't get into all this other stuff with options trading and shorting and puts, and I don't get into all that. I just on payday, I put some money in my 401k and I put some money in my IRA, and I just have, like I said, the Bogle. I do the Bogle 3. That's very simple. It's a it's a it's a tried and true method of wealth creation, and then I invest in my real estate, and then every once in a while I'll dabble into something else. Like I had some Uber cars for a second. I had black cars that I had rented out to drivers, and they were paying me weekly, and that was a nice hustle because it was a great tax shelter, and it was like some easy money. When it came down to it, I was putting like 1800 dollars a month, like just cash in my pocket. And you talk about I was working probably 3 to 5 hours a month, and I was putting $1,800 a month, $1,800 in my pocket, and then I was getting all the tax benefits and everything else. So I mean,
Mm.
I'm saying like profit, like that was just going in my pocket, that was a smooth hustle for a while. Uh, Especially because I had a couple real estate projects I was doing that were, had overruns, and that money I was making on that was help me get over the hump, or help me get
Yeah.
over the hump on that stuff. As crazy as it sounds, because if I didn't have that little bit of money coming in, uh, some of those projects probably would have stalled out because I did a couple high risk projects where it wasn't evident the money was there when I was doing it, but because I was able to get over the hump, uh, that things worked out where the money was there. I mean, I knew the money was going to be there, but when you walk into the bank and you say, "Hey, I want to do X, Y, Z," they're like, "Yeah, we don't see it." But I knew that it was there just because I did my research, and and then it's always funny once you pull it off. Then they want to do business with you because because you've already assumed all the risk, right? They
Mhm.
don't want to assume the risk, but once prove that you have the proof of concept and you knew what to do, they're more than happy to step in and help you at that point.
Yeah, I mean, because financial literacy, man, financial literacy is important. And I think the fact that we don't have any financial literacy as a people, it hurts us because your wealth begins with, owning something, preferably a house, a home. I mean, that's going to be the beginning of your wealth, right? I mean,
Well,
unless,
well,
unless
well,
Donald Trump your father or something.
the financial literacy. So I kind of don't like that buzzword because I feel like that it's like this catch-all term that people use to explain something that necessarily that's more complex than what it really is. But what we start off saying, you get a job that pays you relatively well. You save your money, right? And you save your money. You could do those two things. Those are all relative to your lifestyle and market and things of that nature, right? So to put it in perspective, so here's a case in point. Let's say you're someone making $45,000 a year, right? If you're making $45,000 a year, you're just a single person, man or woman, right? And that means that you're bringing in 3750 a month, right? Which means that you could afford a $1,250 a month apartment or house or whatever. That's what you could afford for your housing. You're making 45 grand a year. Shouldn't you really only spend maybe about $700 a month on your housing? But what happens? You're spending that 1250 because you want to be able to show people that, hey, I'm doing this, look what I'm able to do. So you're spending money for other people for appearances. With all reality, you didn't need to spend that 1250. You probably could have just spent 750 and really gotten what you needed, right? Because you identified what you actually really needed. And so what happens if you only spent that 750? There's your $500 a month right there, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That there's your $500 a month right there that could get you on the ladder to home ownership in 2 to 3 years because you're not
Yeah.
maxing. So those are the type of things. And yes, say it's a young couple, they just get married, right? The guy's, he's a teacher. We're talking about just regular working folk, right? He's a teacher. He makes 45 grand a year, and his wife is a nail tech. She's making 36 grand a year, right? Do they need to go get a place for $1,250, or can't they probably make it at a $900 a month place? I mean, because I get it when you have your wife, right? You can't probably you don't want her staying in certain neighborhoods because you want her to be safe when you're not around. And I get that, right? I'm sensitive to that. My wife was a trooper, and she was willing to move it to an area in Detroit where it wasn't a bad area, but it definitely turned some people's eyes up. When we decided to buy a multifamily home in the city of Detroit, and that definitely turned people's eyes. Like, whoa, what are you guys doing? But the thing is, she was on board with like, hey, we can make some money if we do this. So uh, that was different. That was an ownership situation, right? But that still meant that was a level of sacrifice because the easy thing would have been to go get a $200,000 home out of the suburbs in a nice in a nice little suburb and in a nice little home, and we could have lived there, and that would have been it, right? But we would not have had the opportunity to invest like the way we did.
Yeah. Well, wifey don't want to live in the hood. Your wife don't want to be in the hood, man. I mean, I know my wife though that she's not going for that shit. Like, buy some house no matter how good the deal is, she's
Yeah.
not gonna live in the hood.
Well,
That ain't
see,
gonna fly.
so my wife, she was willing to go. So it was funny. The house that we bought it was what a lot of people would consider it was not a good neighborhood, but really what happened was uh, everyone had emptied out of it, but it was just right near downtown Detroit, and so it had the infrastructure in place where I said, "Hey, if this thing picks up steam, it's going to flip." And then a couple things happened that drove a couple of big projects got announced, and some things got built that really put gasoline on our property value. So we got lucky in one way, but in some ways, like we kind of knew certain things were potentially coming down the pipe through rumor mills. So it was one part educated guess, one part luck, right? But that's how anything. That's another thing is too. People have to get real with when you when you get to certain levels. There is an element of luck or happenstance to it. Yes, there was a lot of things I did correctly. We saved we went to college. We got we landed we worked our careers to build up our income. But what also happens is you have to make decisions. You have to, when you see opportunity, you have to strike. That's something that in that article that they talked about how to get how to get wealth. You have to know when to strike, and that's the tough part, right? That the opportunity is going to present itself. You got to know when to pull the trigger, and you can't and you got to be willing to lose, right? So that's the tough part. Now, of course, like I said, you can always get there in a slow way. You work, you put your money into your 401k or IRA, you buy your home, and you just grow your equity. You grow across the broader market, and you save your bet money, and that's a way to get to a a high six figure or seven figure or low seven figure net worth too. I mean, there's multiple ways to get there, but the key in all of it is consistency, right? That's the biggest key. Any financial advisor will tell you that. For us, what we did was we took risk, and we took risks that were calculated. And I look back at it, I was like, geez, I don't know if we would do that again, right? But it definitely aged me. Doing some of the risk that we did, there was a cost. There was an emotional and physical cost to doing some of the things we did. but it paid off in the long run. Luckily, if it didn't pay off, I probably would feel a very different way about it. I won't even lie.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've always known that the key to being a wealthy person means real estate. That's probably going to get you there. Uh, we're fortunate. I like I said, I run a small business. It's grown pretty much every year over the past few years. And I do own some family property up north.
Yeah,
So I mean, I'm fortunate in the fact that you know we have these things, we have access to these things. But I'm getting older, so I'm not going to want to continue to quote unquote work. I'm ready to retire soon and pass this business down to my grandson or my nephew, or let them do it. you know but I know that I'm going to need money coming in, and I don't just want to rely on the little BS freaking investments that I got. I mean, I have a few small investments, but I don't want that to be my only stream of income. I believe in multiple streams of income.
yeah,
So even if I'm living off the small investments that I have, I still want, something else, maybe one, maybe two, maybe three other streams of income. Ergo, the old lady apartment complex
yeah,
for grannies.
yeah.
That's the plan. That's my real retirement plan right there. Not so much my investments and savings.
Yeah, though a lot of people will do that. They'll buy a multifamily property at the end. When they get older, they'll take their money, they'll sell their business, or they'll take a lump sum of cash, and they'll essentially the investment property essentially becomes like an annuity. That's all it really is when you think about it, right? You're just buying it and just paying you out money on a monthly basis. You essentially are buying income if you think about it. That's essentially what it is.
Yeah, that's the plan. I mean, I look back on it now because when I was a younger guy, I was stupid. I did a lot of stupid stuff, blowed a lot of money that I could have been saving or investing. I didn't wake up. I didn't wake up till I was like in my 30s. I mean, I slept my teens and 20s. I just kind of slept through those. I didn't wake up till I was like in like my mid 30s, man. That's when I like kind of woke up and was like, okay, all right, you gotta do something. You gotta have a plan. I mean, if I had it to do all over again, I would do it totally differently because I wouldn't have been still working on my damn credit when I was like in my 40s and shit. I'd have had my credit together in my 30s and all that kind of stuff. I was a late bloomer, because I didn't open my business until 8 years ago. I mean, I did this, man. I did mechanical engineering and power mechanics for more than 2 decades for other people, man. I just started on my own. I struck out on my own only 8 years ago. I mean, I worked for other people, man, for freaking 20 some odd years, you
Well,
know?
I think that sometimes when people talk about the financial freedom thing, they, and this is just my personal beef I have with, like, you know, LLC Twitter and all these various people who just say, having a 9 to 5 or working for someone else is lame. In your case, you could have set out on your own, right? And that would have been that you could have did that, right? But then there's also the thing of, too, when you set out on your own this time, you had experience, you had industry contacts, you knew what the market was, you understood where the holes were in the marketplace, you knew there's all sorts of things you knew about. Typically, when people start a business, they'll work for someone else for 5 to 10, 12 years. So that way they can build up industry contacts, they can build up capital, and then they go and get out on their own. When you just get out on your own first thing, unless you're very well funded, or you're just really just that good, or maybe it's a new emerging business, and a new emerging sector, you're kind of first one on the hill. It can be tough, right? Uh, there is advantages to working for someone else. And I can say I'm probably a high paid corporate slave. I'll be the first to admit that. I make good money at my job. I make I'm paid very well at my job. My wife's a nurse. She's paid, she's paid very well. And so we just took that money that we were making from our wage W-2 jobs, and we invested that money to get to where we are. And I think that people have to realize that a lot of these people who say some of this stuff online, that you can tell that, I don't mean to disparage anyone, but that really what you're doing is you use your wages. People should be using your wages to turn into assets, particularly income producing assets, whatever that might be. That could be real estate, that could be a business, that could be you have an idea or patent. So, let's say you're an accountant, right? But let's say you really, really want to, uh, you know, make some, you want to make a better mousetrap of a widget, right? You like to tinker with with radios, or I don't, or whatever, or you like to, tinker with brake pedals or something like that. Well, all you do is, if you're working as an accountant at work for 40, 50 hours a week, just take 10, 20 hours a week, and you work on that too, and you try to monetize that. There's things you could do, because when you are trying to live and die on something, that's that can be difficult, because then you're going to, take shortcuts, versus, you could try to find that side hustle, and that side hustle can turn into your main stream of income, or your main source of wealth. So in our case, yes, I have my IT job, but the main source of wealth is through real estate. But I wouldn't have the real estate without the IT job.
Hmm. So are you going to continue to work? I mean, how long are you going to continue to work? I mean,
I'll work. I mean, based on my financial plan, I'll work until I'm 70. I mean, I'm paid.
wow.
I mean,
You got to work till you're 70?
well, let's put it like this. Me and my wife, we talked about it. What's probably going to happen realistically is, my oldest is 7, and the other one is 5. So so in 15 years it'll be 20. I'm 38. Realistically, so at 50, so I'm 38. So I'll be what, 53 in
Yeah.
15 years? 53? No, yeah,
Yeah, you can
12. Yeah,
you'll
yeah, 50. Yeah,
you'll
50.
probably go till you're 60. I don't think you're gonna, man. No one
Yeah,
wants to work till they're 70.
yeah, yeah,
You don't
probably
have to.
yeah, once I hit about 55, uh once I hit about 55, 60, I'll start probably headed towards the exits.
Yeah.
Depending on, just, depending on other things, right? Just based on where I'm at now. If I hit 55, 60, I'll start going like, but also depends on, what's my job like. Yes, say I'm still making really good money, and I'm not overworking myself. May I keep, right now I have a pretty good gig. I'm not being overworked. I make pretty good money. I'm not under a lot of pressure. I could, I could keep doing this, but I've had jobs before where, man, I was working hard. Like, I don't have, like, the job I have right now. I don't have any mirrors in India or overseas. Everything is domestic to the United States or Canada. So I don't have to be up at like 3 o'clock in the morning with India or something like that working. Uh, what I mean, there's all sorts of things where, this is chill. I could keep doing this, but what happens if I was in a different situation in 5 or 6 years, and I'm working 55, 60 hours a week. I'm working at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm working weekends because we have to deploy software. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
different. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't. Even if I was making even more money, I guess, say, you know, um, I'll just say, my rate, I make between, like, at my job, between 120 and $170,000. So I'm in that range for my employment. So, you know, so again, I'm paid decently well, and then I have my real estate.
Hmm. Yeah, I know me, man. I don't want to work past 60. By the time I'm 60, I'm gonna be spending a lot of time on my little bass boat fishing. I don't want to be doing just too much of any goddamn thing by the time I'm 60. Cause I watched my old man. So my old man, he didn't retire till he was like, I don't know, like 64 or 63. I don't want to be still, I don't want to be still manually working because what we do, all right, what we do is we do a lot of manual stuff. I mean, 3 days out of the week, I'm covered with grease, oil, hydraulic fluid, wood chips,
Yeah,
insects, especially if we doing outside stuff, on-site stuff. I mean, you see me now here, if you saw me out on the field, you wouldn't even recognize me. They're
yeah,
covered with grease, the wood chips, grass, oil. I mean, we make decent money. We make good money, but I mean, it's a lot of manual. 60% of it is like, a lot of times you catch me, I'm underneath a bulldozer. All right. I'm modifying a payloader. All right. We're
yeah,
doing a we're doing a engine swap on a skid steer. All right. I mean,
yeah,
that's the kind of work that we do. And I don't want to be still doing this when I'm 60. I just don't want to. And
I
and I'll
okay.
probably be in the physical shape to do it, but I
Yeah,
just don't want to. Yeah, I don't
yeah.
want to.
Well, but you know, maybe what happens is you could transition into a role where it's more, you know, knowledge based. Where
Yeah.
you can more knowledge based for that sort of work, and that way you can still because the thing is, what are you going to do with your time, right? That's the thing. You-
Fish. Fish
How
on my boat fishing. That's what
okay.
I'm going to be doing with my damn time. Fishing.
Maybe it's just maybe it's just because I'm still young, but I take 4 or 5. I say I go on vacation. We go on vacation for 4 to 10 days at the end of the year as a family. After about 3 4 days, I'm I can't just sit around like that. I have to get back and get going again. So maybe I'm just not tired yet. You know, so
Well, when you get to be my age, because I'm in my 50s,
yeah.
when you get to be my age, I'm
I,
telling
I, I,
you,
I don't doubt
you'll
it.
think you'll think differently once the kids is like grown and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, I just expanded, because we have kids back in the house again.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like my nephew, he's the 15, and my grandson is 13. So
Okay.
in 5 years, the youngest kid will be 18.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'll have them getting ready to get out the nest again in another 5 years. So I won't have to work as much. I won't, we won't need as much. It's
Yeah.
just be me, my wife, and the dog. So, we won't need as much. We won't need as much room. I mean, so that's kind of my thing. Once they're out and gone, whatever house we're living in, we may not need all that space now.
Right.
There is that we may not need all that space. So that's something else for me to kind of play with financially, and make some different moves. Maybe get a smaller house, maybe rent that house out. That's kind of where I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'm thinking down the road. I'm thinking, 3, 6, 9 years down the road, what we'll be doing and what we'll need. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah. So it sounds like what you really should be doing is sitting down with a financial advisor and laying out. There's probably play right there in the town you have, whether it's Raymond James. I work for Edward Jones, so I should say that. Edward Jones should go talk with them. Tell them I referred you. But 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 it sounds like what you should be doing. I think that's something else that people we were talking about the financial literacy thing. Sitting down with people who are experts. Lots of times you can get a free consultation, right? Uh, and they'll lay something out for you to have actionable advice on. Uh, there's a lot of options out there. There's low cost things you could do in terms of uh, getting help with what you need to do. Sometimes it's not about knowing what to do. It's about just knowing who to go to get help. Like for instance, I don't know. I have rental properties. I don't know how to put up drywall, right? But
Mm,
but I have people who could do that for me, right? I I don't know now I'm aware of what the drywall process is. I know what it should look like, or with attorneys. I'm not an attorney, but I understand what the legal filings are, what type of things I have to do to manage the stuff that I have to do that relate to my rental properties. So, but you have people, you go to people, you have to be willing to say this is not my area of expertise, and then you educate yourself enough to understand what the person's objective, what they're trying to do. Maybe you get a couple different objectives, right? You get a couple different opinions. I always look at it as when I try to look at anything, I try to talk to 2 to 3 people, uh, and I try to talk to them from 2 to 3 different angles, so that way I can start intersecting the information. So that way, if person A says this, person B says this, person C says this, I start. It's like a Venn diagram where stuff starts coming together. That's probably where the spots where all 3 people say the same thing. That's probably something you really want to care about, right? And
Yeah.
then if one person says something, but the other two don't say it, well, you probably want to understand, well, why would they say that, right? So again, those are things like I I look at, especially when I buy my investment properties. I'll ask people, I might go over there, me and my wife, you might sit on a house for 3 days, take shifts. We just sit on the house, just watch what's happening to get a feel for the area. Well, I might just ask somebody who's there on the street what's going on. Well, I know they're going to say one thing because they live there, right? Then I might call someone. I might look up on Zillow or Craigslist, see if someone else is renting a place out there. I'll get a hold of the landlord. I'll ask them questions. I understand what their point of view is. They're a landlord. They might be biased because they don't want another investor. You don't know what their angle is. But again, you understand what their point of view is. Then I might ask someone
Yeah.
who I then I might find someone, hey, I know that so and so used to live there in this neighborhood, but they haven't lived there in 10 years or 12 years, and see what their opinion on this neighborhood is. And then I find out what they say. So now you have 3 different points of views to tell you about one thing, and then you can start formulating uh, an action plan.
Yeah. I know research is the key, man. You don't jump out and do anything. That's something I learned over the course of the last, say, 15 to 20 years. Um, you got to plan.
Well,
It's
that's art.
hard to fail if you have a plan. It's hard to fail.
Isn't that an art though? When where we were talking about when to strike, right? You
Yeah.
can have analysis paralysis, right? So you don't want to be a gunslinger. You don't want to be Captain Kirk, right? And just and just shoot and ask questions later, right? But you can't be timid on whatever you're doing. You gotta you have to have a process of how you evaluate information. Well, no matter what it is, right? Like uh always, like when I go buy stuff, right? First thing I'll do is I'll look it up online, right? I'll look it up online, and then I'll read up about it, and then I'll read up about a comparative product. This would be anything: a TV, a pair of shoes, a house. Uh, you know, Maybe I'm going to enroll my kids in Lego camp. I'm saying, well, why should I enroll them in Lego camp versus Minecraft camp or building block camp? I'll just you go through and you look at it, and then you get comparative, and then then you go do a site visit where you touch it, feel it, smell it, that way you can get an idea, and then you go back, you look, and then you make your decision. So uh you you have to have a process of how you do things, but you can't get an analysis paralysis. You have to know, is it a go or no go? When you say it's a no go, it's a no go, and you walk away. And if it's a go, you make the deal, or you make the purchase, or you move forward, or whatever you're doing.
Yeah. I agree, man. I mean, I don't want to keep you too much longer because I know you're watching your games and whatnot.
No, it's
But
okay. It's okay.
I only want to ask you a few more questions before I
Sure.
let you go. Um, do you think it's worth it to go in as like a partnership, on investment properties? Like, say, you got a friend, or a family member, and there's these properties, there's an opportunity to get these properties. Is it good to go in with someone, or is it better to do it alone? Is it going to be better for you if you just go in alone?
So there's different levels to this, right? So if you're just talking about doing like what I'm doing, you probably just want to go it alone, like you and your wife, or maybe you and maybe like your brother, or you and maybe like your guy that you went to college with, like maybe something like that. That's as far as that would go, right? Uh, you know, tip that's maybe as far as it go, but typically, you those sort of operations like we run, it's just a single person. Now, of course, if you scale up to really, really large amounts like 40, 50, 60, more than that, you're going to start having you might have partnerships just because of division of labor and bringing in capital into the pot and stuff like that. When you get into stuff like when you're talking about like with that old person, like with the old person's home, right? You might be able to do one of those on your own, right? But when you do the second one, you're probably going to need a partnership. You're probably going to need a business partner. Now, this is just think what does partnership give you? Well, it gives you someone that you can leverage their knowledge and labor and networks to your advantage, right? That's the goal of a partnership, of any partnership. But also too, that means you have diminished returns, and now that means you also have to manage that relationship too, right? Because business partners fall out, right? You guys might have diverging goals. There's all sorts of things that happen when you have another person in the foxhole with you. So you have to, we, I have met with people on several occasions because I have wanted to try to jump into larger scale stuff. And each time I've spoken with people, whether it was bankers or things like that, they literally tell me to my face, they say, what you and your wife are doing right now is great. I would not do anything different. They should just keep doing what you're doing. You're making plenty of money doing it this way. That's what I've been told. I've had 3 meetings in the last probably 6 years with bankers because I wanted to jump into doing like 20, 30 unit apartment buildings. I had some money. I said I want to get like a 30 unit apartment building, and each time the banker was like, "Don't do it. What you're doing here is just good. Is you're making just enough." So they were like, "You're doing just fine doing this. Don't jump into this," because they were saying it's not worth it. Now they could just be, some people say, "Oh, they're hating," or you don't know why, but that's what I've been advised on multiple occasions. So, you know, I still always wondered to jump up, but that's what I've that's what I've rated to so far.
And one last question. What's your take on just buying land itself,
I,
without the property on it? What do you think about that? Just
if
buying the
if
land.
if you have a strategy around it, right? Whether it's farmland or raw land, right? Again, you're down in North Carolina. It's a growth market. You
Yes.
could probably do very well. Find the end of development. Go out 10 miles, grab you some acres of land, and just sit back and put some trees up. You know, put some apple trees on the land, and sit back and wait.
Yeah.
That's a 20, 30, 40 year uh plan, right? You're probably not going to cash that in. Your grandkids are probably going to be the ones who cash that in. That's how people have made money. Like we had a family friend. That's what happened for them. They owned something like 60 acres out. They bought their family had bought like 60 acres of land out about 30 miles north of Detroit back in the 1960s or something like that, 1970s. And so the dad finally died. What year was that? Probably 2013, right? And so they went to. So it was he had uh, a son and two daughters, and so they ended up selling the land to a developer. This was 60 acre because now everything had developed coming out that way. And so I think they said like they sold everything to develop like the 60 acres of land. I think they sold it for like two and a quarter or $3 million or something like that. So
Damn.
each sibling got like $1 million. You know,
Yeah.
you know, and what did they buy that for back in 1960? You know what I mean? Was they did they did what they probably bought it. Who knows? They probably bought it for what, $30,000, something crazy like that. So
Yeah.
they did
Yeah.
they didn't spend that much for it. They did it. So yeah, if you're in a growth market, it can be very lucrative. But again, all this stuff we're talking about, I guess that's whenever I go and people have been asking me to come on and talk about this stuff, I always stress that none of this stuff happens overnight. And oftentimes within our community, everything is about the quick come up. Everything is the quick flip. And everything out of those, everything we've talked about today, we're talking 3 to 6 years. It's going to take this to come to fruition. Or in this case, we're talking about land, that might take 20, 30, 40 years for that to come to fruition. Uh, do you have that's why I was saying you have to have the income to make these things work. Uh, one of the most important things that I had, again, when I first started getting going, when I first started on my journey was, yeah, I was working my job at my 9 to 5 job, but I was refereeing basketball, football, and soccer to get some extra money in my pocket. I was doing, they talk about, how Mr. Samuels was saying, you got to work those 60 hours a week. I, you know, I was doing that, but my dad had told me about that. He had told me, he said, when you get out of college, he said, you need to be working your job and you need to be working, doing something else, to make more money until basically he was saying you needed to be doing that until until you get married and have your first kid. You need to be doing 60 hours. If you're not doing 60 hours, you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
And my dad was telling me that when I was like a teenager.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
Absolutely.
that's the important thing is you have to. So I've talked about this before. Is you lots of times you have to start off with smaller hustles to get to bigger hustles. So for me initially it was, you know, it was the refereeing. It's the refereeing, right? Then eventually you went from refereeing to, uh, I started doing the military stuff, right? And then I went from doing the military stuff to I got into doing the real estate stuff. So the side hustles just got bigger and bigger and bigger, right? Because of as you accumulate more wealth or you accumulate more income, as you accumulate more wealth, you can do more things that have bigger payoffs. And that's the key, right? That's like, when you say, how do you get to certain places? It doesn't come all at once. It's because of you do a lot of things right along the way. So that's been that's kind of really been what my journey was about. So it was get out of college, get a job, even though it wasn't a great paid job, but I was refereed. I was refereed. Then I was refereed and doing the military. And then I got a better paid job. I kept refereeing doing the military. And then you're putting the money away, saving. That it all fed into each other to yeah, when we go Bernard show, we say how much I'm worth. You're like, whoa, how'd that happen? Well, I, it didn't happen overnight, right? You see, that's what I'm saying. Like I said on his show, this is a story that started basically in 2004. That's in about 2005, 2004. That's when this journey started for me to get to this point.
Yeah, man. And good stuff tonight, brother. Where can people reach you, man? Like, do you have like social media of anything, or where can people get at you, where they might want to interview you or have you come on and speak to some of this stuff? Where can people get you? Where can they reach you?
Yeah, of course, I'm always here on YouTube. I have Facebook. You can look me up on Facebook. Uh, if someone reaches out to you, they need my information. You can feel free to give them to give them my email. I don't
Okay.
have a I don't have a a YouTube page or anything. I have really no desire to monetize the things I talk about because that's just not my thing. Uh, but yeah, if people ever have questions they want to ask, have me come on and talk to things that I'm relatively knowledgeable about. I have no issue doing so. I mean, I want people to the my I really believe the point of the manosphere is a place for black males to get out here and communicate with each other about the stuff that's available to them or things that they deal with. So that way, because information is power, right? That we live in the information age, and we could watch cat videos on YouTube all day, or we could pass information that's going to help us get somewhere. And so, I have no issue sharing the knowledge I have regarding certain things because, I want people to be in a better position. They don't to I want people to be in a better position than even I was when I was their age, or even if they're older than me. I want them to win because if I look at if they win, you know, it's going to help them and the people around them extremely, and that's good for everybody.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you coming on, brother Christian. I hope this won't be the last time. Uh, I may have to hit you up, man. When I get this building for these old ladies, I might
what,
have
what
to
what
hit
what
you up.
what city what city you think what city you thinking for that building for the old ladies?
I don't know. Maybe
I think
I don't
Savannah.
know. So
I think Savannah. You're down in North Carolina. I know that's a ways away, but man, I think you could probably do. I think you could do some damage in Savannah. I think, man, I can see some damage in that place.
yeah, man, it's not like it's going to be a shortage of them. I mean, single old women. I mean, there's a never-ending supply of
Yeah,
old ladies. There's a never-ending supply, man.
yeah. I could just. I was just
And
thinking.
they're going to need a place to live, a place where they can have all their cats and plants and
Yeah. So
crazy unnamed stuff in jars.
yeah, yeah. So I know you want to get off, but this is the thing that there's some things that I know that from people I know who are in that game, what they say they run into. This is not to discourage you. This is just things that because you're not the first person I talked to who said, "Hey, I want to do this," and they this is a challenge they run into because of particularly in the black community. What goes on, you will deal with there is a there are just lack of a better word, there are predators out here who they are going to leverage their mom or grandma who are in a senior home, and they're going to use it to run their garbage and mess because they like, oh, it's a senior home. And they look at it, it's a safe house, and they
Mm.
will do illegal activity out of those out of those.
Yeah.
That's a big issue. Uh, I'm not saying that that's to discourage you, but you know, if you don't have a property management who's really on it, keeping track of who's coming and going, because the way that it happens is people are coming in and out of the building. They say, "Oh, I'm here to help my grandma," right? And of course, people are older. They let them come in and out, and then it's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
well, she had a stroke, and we have to come in and help her, so I'm staying with her." And then it just
And
progresses, and then
yeah, and then they're bagging up and scaling and weighing crack. Yeah, I know. I know.
yeah,
I mean, I'm black. I'm black too, so I'm well aware of the scams and the scheme of the modern day Negro.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, they coming in there and they scaling and weighing and cutting up crack inside grandma's little apartment. Yeah, I know. So
yeah,
that is a concern. It's always going to be a concern, when you're dealing with black folk, because let's be honest here, some of us, we have a tendency to manipulate and take advantage of situations, especially situations where they think it's easy to manipulate. So
yeah,
yeah, I'm aware of that. I'm gonna have some security and all that kind of stuff there as well. That's part of the plan, having some security there. Not any and everybody's walking in. It's a plan. I mean, I actually have drawn up a plan. Um,
I don't doubt that for
I
a
drew
second.
I drew the
You're
plan up a couple years ago.
yeah,
So
yeah. I don't doubt that for a second. This is not stuff that I saw in a movie. I mean, I know guys who like, yeah, I have a senior building and they're dealing with people who are not seniors living in the building, and now they got to deal with this problem of
Yeah,
that, and
yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah.
and
I
it's
know, with Negroes comes problems. Yeah, I know.
yeah.
I'm well aware.
Yeah, so the thing that made it actually funny in the situation, the one guy though, he's not black, so he doesn't deal with black people like that. So he was like, he had no clue. He was like,
Yeah.
you know, he had, he was kind of aloof to this is how things get down, right? Because he just thought, oh yeah, I'll, some old ladies want to stay in an apartment, and next thing you do, he had somebody staying in there who was he wasn't selling drugs. He was running girls. So
Mm, yeah,
yeah.
I know. I mean, that is a concern, when you're dealing with it like that. But I may not necessarily have black folks. It may be old white women. It may be old Latino women. It may be old Asian women. I
Well,
don't know.
you can't control. By law
Yeah,
you can't.
yeah. I can't. Yeah, I
Like
can't keep certain people out. So, I'll deal with that when it comes. But yeah, I kind of have a plan for that too. So, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it
yes,
goes. I'll
yeah.
let
So
you know, man. I'll keep you posted on. I'll give you a call in about 6 years. Let you know, if I got people running crack in my old lady apartment buildings.
yeah, no, but yeah, thanks for having me on. You ever have any questions or anything? Yeah, people see me around these YouTube streets. I'm always floating around. Yeah, but always feel free to reach out. I'm happy to be a resource. And
Absolutely.
are
I
you going to be
appreciate it.
are you going to be at
Go ahead.
Obsidian's? Are you going to be at Obsidian's event next week?
Probably not.
Okay, all right,
I'll be there in spirit though. I'll be
okay,
there in spirit. But I appreciate you coming through, brother Christian. Man, this was good stuff tonight, man. And hopefully brothers got something out of it, man. You
okay,
know,
all right. Thank you for having me, Mr. Xavier, and I'll see you around.
absolutely, man. Peace, my brother.
Mhm.
Yeah, man, brother Christian Hutchinson, man, coming here dropping some jewels on y'all, man. I hope that y'all took heed to the stuff he was saying, man, because what y'all don't know about brother Christian, he didn't talk about it, but I mean, this is public information. I mean, the man is a millionaire. I mean, he is a millionaire. I believe he has a net worth of like 3 million and some change. I mean, so he's not telling you no BS, man. I mean, this man is a legitimate millionaire. All right. And if you apply some of the things that he said, man, you can mess around and be a millionaire too. You know, I mean, it's out there, man. It's out there for the brothers to take advantage of, man. You know, there's a lot of things out there for brothers to take advantage of, man, but they have to be willing to take advantage of them. You know, I mean, we can sit around all day, man, and talk about doing these things, but I mean, some of these things you have to do, brothers. You have to do these things, if you want to achieve goals, especially you brothers who have children. You got children to take care of. You kind of want to have some type of plan, and then you want to have a plan for you when your children grow up and get grown, because all you got to do is live to see it, man. And one day your ass gonna be old. I know it don't feel like it right now. You think you're gonna be 35 for the next 35 years, but newsflash, you're not. In 35 years, your black ass gonna be 70. All right. So these are the things that we need to understand, man, and these are the things that we need to take part in, man, and quit acting like time is forever, because it's not. It's not. And I think when it comes to most of us black people, we're very financially immature. Um, we don't understand saving. We don't understand investment. We don't understand putting something away for a rainy day. We don't understand uh purchasing what we need and belaying what we want. A lot of times, what often happens is we find ourselves purchasing what we want, then we gotta beg, borrow, and steal what we need. That's backwards. It should be the other way around. You buy what you need, man, and put what you want to the side. Because if you buy enough of what you need over the course of time, you'll be able to buy what you want. It took me a while to understand that. Because I know now, man, at my age, I mean, I only buy things that I need. You know, if I need something, I buy it. Because there's a lot of shit that I want that I don't buy. I will take that money that I will use to buy something that I want and use it to buy something that I need instead. But that's just me. That's how I look at things. I mean, the things I want, I'm willing to wait for. I'm willing to wait for, because I know in due time I'll be able to buy them as long as I purchase the things that I need. Because in a sense, that's saving, right? That's you saving money. You jump out and just buy a bunch of old bullshit, all right, just because you want it. You take that money that you was going to waste on something you want, man, and buy it on something you need, because you'll be able to buy what you want down the line. And that's the truth. Now, me, I don't know if I'm ever going to become a millionaire. I don't know if I'm ever going to become a millionaire. But what I do plan on doing is becoming somebody who, at the very least, has some passive income. Because I don't want to spend the rest of my life working. I don't want to spend the rest of my life under freaking lawn equipment. I don't want to spend the rest of my life under a bulldozer or a skid steer or working on somebody's goddamn outboard motor or somebody's motorcycle. I don't want to spend the rest of my life doing that. I don't. Even though I probably could do it up until the time I'm like 65, I would imagine. But that's not the plan. It's not what I want to do with the rest of my life. Absolutely not. I don't know about you, brothers, but I want to spend a lot of my 60s fishing. That's what I want to spend a lot of my time doing. Out on a nice, quiet lake. On my little bass boat. With 3 rods in the water. Biting largemouth bass. That's what I want to do when I'm in my 60s. That's what I want to do. So like I said, man, I hope y'all got something out of Brother Hutchinson's words tonight. The brother's pretty smart. You know, I guess that's why he's a millionaire. If you just got in, you might want to rewind it, man, and check out what the brother had to say, man. Good shit tonight. He covered a lot. He talked about investing. He talked about saving. He talked about real estate. So, you know, because y'all know every now and then a serious conversation takes place on T.P.O.T. Every now and then a serious conversation may break out. But I appreciate you, brothers, showing up tonight, man. I appreciate you being here. We're going to go ahead, man, and wrap it up. I appreciate y'all all coming out tonight, man. And special shout out, man, to brother Christian Hutchinson for coming through tonight, man, and dropping some jewels on us, man. You know, and you got it firsthand, man, real time from a real live millionaire, man. It don't get no better than that. Oh, Arthur, you fucked up, man. That's wrong. Brother Arthur, you wrong, man. You wrong, brother. You wrong for that one, man. Brother Arthur, you wrong for that one, man. But anyway, man, I appreciate you brothers coming out tonight, man, as always, man. I don't take you good folks lightly, man. I never have and I never will. You got my word on that. This weekend, I don't know what we're doing. I guess we're gonna be playing the ridiculous race game. I'm not sure. I don't even have one booked for this Saturday, y'all. But if you want to be a contestant, hit me up on my email, man. In fact, what I'm willing to do this week, brothers, what I'm willing to do is whatever you want the topic to be this weekend for the ridiculous race game, I'll entertain it. Whatever topic you want to go into race about, I'm willing to entertain it. How about that? I'll let you choose the topic. You hit me up in my email and we'll throw down. I'll round up a few contestants, and we'll throw down this week. So it's up to y'all, unless something else comes about. I actually am trying to get an interview with somebody that's pretty well known and pretty familiar. I'm trying to get them in here. They haven't gotten back to me yet. I did speak to them on the phone though. So we're trying to set something up. I don't want to say anything about it because I don't know if it's gonna, I don't know if it's gonna play out or not. If it fucks around and falls through, y'all be like, "Oh, X man, you can't get that person up here." So I want to make sure that I get the person nailed down first, and then I'll put the thumbnail up, and then I'll talk to y'all about it. All right. So we're going to get up out of here, man. Once again, man, I appreciate y'all coming through, man. As always, I appreciate it. Oh, shout out to Brother Hutchinson with the $10 super chat. I appreciate that, Brother Christian. Appreciate that, man. When you drop coins on this platform, you get this. I appreciate you dropping your hard-earned coins on this platform. Appreciate that, Brother Hutchinson. That super chat at the buzzer, no doubt. At the buzzer, no doubt. Yeah, man. We're gonna go ahead, man, and wrap it up, man. As always, man, I appreciate all you good brothers, man. And I guess I will see y'all Saturday night on the ridiculous race game. If we play it, we might do something else. Don't hold me to that, man, because I don't know for sure. All right, I don't know for sure. But like I said, if you want a topic on the ridiculous race game, just hit me up in my email, man. Y'all know what the email is, right? I know y'all do, but I'm gonna put it up here for you Negroes anyway. It's prophetofthought at yahoo.com. It's prophetofthought, one word, no caps, at yahoo.com. All right. So with that, I will leave you Negroes with 3 words, like I always do. Open your minds.
Hours of power.
And so a community is where you control your police, you control your commerce, you control your education, you control your house. We don't control none of that. We live in a hood. Huh? Well, what about the Negroes that get out? Oh, well, see, my cousin, they say he's a multi-millionaire, almost got $1 billion.
The Popular Thought
3 PhDs, working on 2 more. Driving down the street in Chicago in his Rolls Royce, enjoying himself, and he hear these sirens and look through the mirror and see this cop car flashing lights. He squeezed the steering wheel, man. Heart beats fast. Because he knows the price of a Negro, what it could be. And then when that cop car passed him by, he said, "Thank God he wasn't after you in the first place, Bob." That Negro thing you can't get away from. It's universal. They wasn't coming after you with all your millions, with your Rolls Royce, with your PhD. Didn't help. That's the hood. Huh? Why do you think you never pick up the paper until you read over and over and see white families? You think it's thousands of black cops in America. Why don't you see white families crying as black cops shot my loved one 40 times in the back of the head? Why do you think black cops are that? You think they're more spiritual? Think they're better? No! They got enough sense to know that white folks ain't gonna tolerate it. And I will stop in our neighborhood when we decide we will not tolerate it. Now, if we was organized, which is hard to organize people who are just gonna run crazy and you don't know you're crazy. But if we were, with the money we have, and the many people who would come to our aid that don't know what it's like to be a Negro, and we said, look, we saying, if we don't get a federal law to deal with police brutality, that any time a cop or anybody carry a gun, have to have a license just like you used to drive a car. And if you use it wrong, then you lose your license. And if it's upheld, you can never work again as a cop or a store guard or a private detective. How do you get Congress to push that through? Well, you take your economic power and you call on your friends, black, white, young and old, and say, this coming Christmas, if we don't have a federal law to outlaw police brutality by law, if we call them for a nationwide boycott of Christmas and it'll start on Thanksgiving. Well, let me tell you what that means. 79% of all retail in America happens between Thanksgiving and Christmas. People stay in business all year, lose money just for Christmas, huh? Well, what happens now? Factory Avenue, Toys R Us, Sears and Roebuck, Westinghouse. They will get the bill, and all they got to do is make one phone call and say, Harry, that's the senator, I want that bill pushed through in 3 days. Okay, it's an economic thing. It's that simple. But we have the power, but the system has wiped us out so bad.
Hours of power, hours of power, hours of power.
San Antonio, Lincoln 6. Go ahead. Clear suspect down, 10-4. 10-4. The officer's code 4. We have one suspect that's been shot.
Open your mind. Only